Hello everyone. Today we are going to read chapter 5 When People Rebel 1857 and After. Policies and the People. In the previous chapters, you looked at the policies of the East India Company and the effect they had on different people: kings, queens, peasants, landlords, tribals, soldiers were all affected in different ways. You have also seen how people resist policies and actions that harm their interest or go against their sentiments. Nawabs lose their power. Since the mid 18th century, Nawabs and Rajas had seen their power erode. They had gradually lost their authority and honor. Residents had been stationed in many courts, the freedom of the rulers reduced, their armed forces disbanded, and their revenues and territories taken away by stages. Many ruling families tried to negotiate with the company to protect their interest. For example, Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi wanted the company to recognize her adopted son as the heir to the kingdom after the death of her husband. Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao II, pleaded that he be given his father's pension when the latter died. However, the company, confident of its superiority and military powers, turned down these pleas. Awadh was one of the last territories to be annexed. In 1801, a subsidiary alliance was imposed on Awadh, and in 1856 it was taken over. Governor General Dalhousie declared that the territory was being misgoverned and British rule was needed to ensure proper administration. The company even began to plan how to bring the Mughal dynasty to an end. The name of the Mughal king was removed from the coins minted by the company. In 1849, Governor General Dalhousie announced that after the death of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the company of the king would be shifted out of the Red Fort and given another place in Delhi to reside in. In 1856, Governor General Canning decided that Bahadur Shah Zafar would be the last Mughal king, and after his death, none of his descendants would be recognized as kings, they would just be called princes. The peasants and the sepoys. In the countryside, peasants and zamindars resented the high taxes and the rigid methods of revenue collection. Many failed to pay back their loans to the money lenders and gradually lost the lands they had tilled for generations. The Indian sepoys in the employ of the company also had reasons for discontent. They were unhappy about their pay, allowances, and conditions of service. Some of the new rules, moreover, violated their religious sensibilities and beliefs. Did you know that in those days, many people in the country believed that if they crossed the sea, they would lose their religion and caste? So, when in 1824 the sepoys were told to go to Burma by the sea route to fight for the company, they refused to follow the order, though they agreed to go by the land route. They were severely punished, and since the issue did not die down, in 1856 the company passed a new law which stated that every new person who took up employment in the company's army had to agree to serve overseas if required. Sepoys also reacted to what was happening in the countryside. Many of them were peasants and had families living in the villages. So the anger of the peasants quickly spread among the sepoys. Responses to reforms. The British believed that Indian society had to be reformed. Laws were passed to stop the practice of sati and to encourage the remarriage of widows. English language education was actively promoted. After 1830, the company allowed Christian missionaries to function freely in its domain and even own land and property. In 1850, a new law was passed to make conversion to Christianity easier. This law allowed an Indian who had converted to Christianity to inherit the property of his ancestors. Many Indians began to feel that the British were destroying their religion, their social customs, and their traditional way of life. There were, of course, other Indians who wanted to change existing social practices. You will read about these reformers and reform movements in chapter 7. Through the eyes of the people. To get a glimpse of what people were thinking those days about British rule, study sources 1 and 2. The list of 84 rules. Given here are excerpts from the book Majha Pravas written by Vishnu Bhatt Godse, a Brahmin from a village of Maharashtra. He and his uncle had set out to attend a yajna being organized in Mathura. Vishnu Bhatt writes that they met some sepoys on the way who told them that they should not proceed on the journey because a massive upheaval was going to break out in 3 days. The sepoys said the English were determined to wipe out the religions of the Hindus and the Muslims. They had made a list of 84 rules and announced these in a gathering of all big kings and princes in Calcutta. They said that the kings refused to accept these rules and warned the English of dire consequences and massive upheaval if these are implemented, that the kings all returned to their capitals in great anger. All the big people began making plans. A date was fixed for the war of religion, and the secret plan had been circulated from the cantonment in Meerut by letters sent to different cantonments. Vishnu Bhatt Godse, Majha Pravas, page 23-24. There was soon excitement in every regiment. Another account we have from those days are the memoirs of Subedar Sitaram Pandey. Sitaram Pandey was recruited in 1812 as a sepoy in the Bengal Native Army. He served the English for 48 years and retired in 1860. He helped the British to suppress the rebellion, though his own son was a rebel and was killed by the British in front of his eyes. On retirement, he was persuaded by his commanding officer, Norgate, to write his memoirs. He completed the writing in 1867 in Awadhi, and Norgate translated it into English and had it published under the title From Sepoy to Subedar. Here is an excerpt from what Sitaram Pandey wrote. It is my humble opinion that this seizing of earth filled the minds of the sepoys with distrust and led them to plot against the government. Agents of the Nawab of Earth and also of the King of Delhi were sent all over India to discover the temper of the army. They worked upon the feelings of sepoys, telling them how treacherously the foreigners had behaved towards their king. They invented 10,000 lies and promises to persuade the soldiers to mutiny and turn against their masters, the English, with the object of restoring the Emperor of Delhi to the throne. They maintained that this was wholly within the army's powers if the soldiers would only act together and do as they were advised. It chanced that about this time the Sarkar sent parties of men from each regiment to different garrisons for instructions in the use of the new rifle. These men performed the new drill for some time until a report got about by some means or the other that the cartridges used for these new rifles were greased with the fat of cows and pigs. The men from our regiment wrote to others in the regiment telling them about this, and there was soon excitement in every regiment. Some men pointed out that in 40 years' service, nothing had ever been done by the Sarkar to insult their religion, but as I have already mentioned, the sepoys' minds had been inflamed by the seizure of Awadh. Interested parties were quick to point out that the great aim of the English was to turn us all into Christians, and they had therefore introduced the cartridge in order to bring this about, since both Mohammedans and Hindus would be defiled by using it. The Colonel Sahib was of the opinion that the excitement, which even he could not fail to see, would pass off as it had done before, and he recommended me to go to my home. Sitaram Pandey, From Sepoy to Subedar, page 162 to 163. A mutiny becomes a popular rebellion. Those struggles between rulers and the ruled are not unusual. Sometimes such struggles become quite widespread as a popular resistance, so that the power of the state breaks down. A very large number of people begin to believe that they have a common enemy and rise up against the enemy at the same time. For such a situation to develop, people have to organize, communicate, take initiative, and display the confidence to turn the situation around. Such a situation developed in the northern parts of India in 1857. After 100 years of conquest and administration, the English East India Company faced a massive rebellion that started in May 1857 and threatened the company's very presence in India. Sepoys mutinied in several places, beginning from Meerut, and a large number of people from different sections of society rose up in rebellion. Some regard it as the biggest armed resistance to colonialism in the 19th century anywhere in the world. From Meerut to Delhi. On 8 April 1857, a young soldier, Mangal Pandey, was hanged to death for attacking his officers in Barakpur. Some days later, some sepoys of the regiment at Meerut refused to do the army drill using the new cartridges, which were suspected of being coated with the fat of cows and pigs. 85 sepoys were dismissed from service and sentenced to 10 years in jail for disobeying their officers. This happened on 9 May 1857. The response of the other Indian soldiers in Meerut was quite extraordinary. On 10 May, the soldiers marched to the jail in Meerut and released the imprisoned sepoys. They attacked and killed British officers. They captured guns and ammunition and set fire to the buildings and properties of the British and declared war on the Firangis. The soldiers were determined to bring an end to their rule in the country. But who would rule the land instead? The soldiers had an answer to this question: the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. The sepoys of Meerut rode all night of 10 May to reach Delhi in the early hours next morning. As news of their arrival spread, the regiments stationed in Delhi also rose up in rebellion. Again, British officers were killed, arms and ammunition seized, buildings set on fire. Triumphant soldiers gathered around the walls of the Red Fort where the Badshah lived, demanding to meet him. The emperor was not quite willing to challenge the mighty British power, but the soldiers persisted. They forced their way into the palace and proclaimed Bahadur Shah Zafar as their leader. The aging emperor had to accept this demand. He wrote letters to all the chiefs and rulers of the country to come forward and organize a confederacy of Indian states to fight the British. This single step taken by Bahadur Shah had great implications. The Mughal dynasty had ruled over a very large part of the country. Most smaller rulers and chieftains controlled different territories on behalf of the Mughal ruler. Threatened by the expansion of British rule, many of them felt that if the Mughal emperor could rule again, they too would be able to rule their own territories once more under Mughal authority. The British had not expected this to happen. They thought the disturbance caused by the issue of the cartridges would die down. But Bahadur Shah Zafar's decision to bless the rebellion changed the entire situation dramatically. Often, when people see an alternative possibility, they feel inspired and enthused. It gives them the courage, hope, and confidence to act. The rebellion spreads. After the British were routed from Delhi, there was no uprising for almost a week. It took that much time for news to travel. Then a spurt of mutinies began. The rebellion spreads. After the British were routed from Delhi, there was no uprising for almost a week. It took that much time for news to travel. Then a spurt of mutinies began. Regiments after regiment mutinied and took off to join other troops at nodal points like Delhi, Kanpur, and Lucknow. After them, the people of the towns and villages also rose up in rebellion and rallied around local leaders, zamindars, and chiefs who were prepared to establish their authority to fight the British. Nana Sahib, the adopted son of the late Peshwa Baji Rao, who lived near Kanpur, gathered armed forces and expelled the British garrison from the city. He proclaimed himself Peshwa. He declared that he was a governor under Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. In Lucknow, Birjis Qadr, the son of the deposed Nawab Wajid Ali Shah, was proclaimed the new Nawab. He too acknowledged the suzerainty of Bahadur Shah Zafar. His mother Begum Hazrat Mahal took an active part in organizing the uprising against the British. In Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai joined the rebel sepoys and fought the British along with Tatya Tope, the general of Nana Sahib. In the Mandla region of Madhya Pradesh, Rani Avanti Bai Lodhi of Ramgarh raised and led an army of 4,000 against the British who had taken over the administration of her state. The British were greatly outnumbered by the rebel forces. They were defeated in a number of battles. This convinced the people that the rule of the British had collapsed for good and gave them the confidence to take the plunge and join the rebellion. A situation of widespread popular rebellion developed in the region of Awadh in particular. On 6 August 1857, we find a telegram sent by Lieutenant Colonel Tytler to his commander-in-chief expressing the fear felt by the British. Our men are cowed by the numbers opposed to them and the endless fighting. Every village is held against us. The zamindars have risen to oppose us. Many new leaders came up. For example, Ahmadullah Shah, a Maulvi from Faizabad, prophesied that the rule of the British would come to an end soon. He caught the imagination of the people and raised a huge force of supporters. He came to Lucknow to fight the British. In Delhi, a large number of Ghazis or religious warriors came together to wipe out the white people. Bakht Khan, a soldier from Bareilly, took charge of large force of fighters who came to Delhi. He became a key military leader of the rebellion. In Bihar, an old zamindar, Kunwar Singh, joined the rebel sepoys and battled with the British for many months. Leaders and fighters from across the land joined the fight. So this was the part 1 of our chapter 5, When People Rebel, 1857 and after. If you have any doubt or query, you can ask me in the comment section below, and you can find the link to the second part and other chapters in the description box below. Thank you everyone.